What up guys, it is MurderInc, and today we're going to be making a tier list for Barbarians. If you want to know what the best of the best is to play, all the way down through all of the viable builds for Barbarian. But before we get into that, there's one thing we have to talk about, and that is Barbarian is arguably, hard to argue, but arguably the best class in Diablo 4. And with that, even more shocking is every single build is a top tier build, right? So I'm going to be showing you a tier list, of course. However, this tier list, if you were to compare it to all of the other builds and classes in this game, they're S and A tier only, right? So the worst Barbarian build in the game is actually going to be A tier compared to every other build in this game, simply because of how our kit's synergizing with all of the new changes. So with that being said, let's start talking about the tier list. As you can see, we have S, A, B, C, and D. Quite typical. We're not going to be using C, D, maybe not even B. We'll see when we get there. And of course, this is my opinion. Now, it is based on a bit of analytical and statistics based on my testing. I've played every single skill in the game, pre-season, season 1, and season 2. Not that the other ones matter, but it kind of gives you a better understanding as far as my core understanding of Barbarian and how it all works. I have a guide for almost all of the builds. I will by the end of the season, in case you're curious and want to play anything on this list. So of course, we're going to start with the best overall build for Barbarian, which is going to be Hammer of the Ancients. Crazy fun. I have quite a few videos on this. It's amazing for leveling, which is one thing that kind of pushes it to the top, because the leveling transition from level 30 to 100 is so smooth. You have to change very little from like level 90 to 100 to really make the build pop for the end game. Speed farming Nightmare 100s like you wouldn't believe. Literally one-shotting bosses in 4-man groups. I'm not talking about just you can one-shot this easily with any Barbarian build in the game, one-on-one, if you're the only solo player, but we're talking about a 4-man group one-shotting every single boss in the game, hitting up to 300 million damage. Now, the highest I personally hit is just under 200 million, but I've seen people, and it's some kind of shenanigans I'm looking forward to doing, to seeing how high of a hit I can get with a certain skill. So we talked about Hammer of the Ancients, that is the bar. Now I have to see what classes can come close. This is where Whirlwind is in a very interesting spot. So if you have uber legendaries, what do I mean by that? I mean the Harlequin's crest, aka Shaco as most people call it. If you have that helmet and you have the Grandfather, 2 rare drops from Duriel only. Okay, so Duriel only in the tier 4. If you get those and put them on Whirlwind, it becomes just as good, if not slightly better than Hammer of the Ancients. But that's a very high requirement of a build to be this good. Why is it so good? Whirlwind's the fastest farming build in the game here, because every other skill that you see that you can use as a Barbarian to farm has to stop to kill enemies. Like, there is some stop animation, not literally standing in place, but once you use the animation, there is a pause there. Whirlwind is the only one that can keep moving through everything, one-shotting everything with that crazy high build comparison. But since it's so hard to get the build, I have to put it at A tier, because we're trying to make this list for like the 99% of players, not the 1% who's actually going to, I mean, maybe if you play long enough, any player can get the gear required to make Whirlwind top tier, but like I said, even as of now, it's going to be slightly behind Hammer of the Ancients if we consider and assume the same quality gear without this really low drop chance gear. Now, the next build that's going to fall in this category, again, kind of teetering in between S and A, is going to be Double Swing. The only reason Double Swing isn't as good as Hammer of the Ancients is because it's slower on mobs. The fact that Double Swing has to cross chop and it has a very small range definitely holds back. I mean, you can use Steel Grasp, but the Steel Grasp animation alone is going to make it slower when speed farming compared to Hammer of the Ancients. Again, I hate making tier lists in general because it sounds like this is worse than that, so you shouldn't play it, but it's all so strong. And Double Swing, I played probably the most of this build out of any of them. It's close between Double Swing and Whirlwind. And if we actually head on to in-game right now, I'm currently playing Double Swing. I'm not sure if I'm going to make a guide just yet on Double Swing, because there are a few issues with Double Swing as a skill that I'm trying to fix with this, I guess, overpower change here. as long as I'm using Lunging Strike, Wrath of Berserker, Double Shout, Iron Skin. I've been doing Nightmare Dungeons so far because my glyphs are behind, to say the least. I've been farming way too much trying to get mats to make all of these builds, but we will see what happens in the future. There are already some pretty decent double swing builds currently rotating around on YouTube and in the build planners. But if you know about double swing, you know it's been the #1 build for Barbarians preseason and in season 1. In season 2, it was finally overtaken by Hammer the Ancient, simply because, I mean, really it's because of the necklace that, I mean, I can just go to it really quickly. The Banished Lord's Talisman, core skill, proccing overpower very, very often with something like Hammer the Ancients, and that it's a fast AoE animation, really sent this build above and beyond. So with that, we're going to talk about this frenzy thing. This means Thorns, okay? So it's not a frenzy build. Frenzy is pretty much tied with Thorns, and I couldn't get an icon that was like a thorn, I guess. So I have played Thorns this season. I was going to make a video, but I was too embarrassed, and the video was literally going to be, I failed at Thorns. Why did I fail at Thorns? Thorns is one of those builds that's a really acquired taste, and in theory, Thorns could have been the best build in the game, making it look like this. The issue is I could not kill mobs in a tier 100 nightmare dungeon without stopping. If I could sprint through mobs and one-shot them with Thorns, not including elites, just all normal mobs, then this can be faster than Whirlwind, because it's literally you're just running and it's the reflect damage happening. The issue is I couldn't do it without stopping, and I tried so many different ideas to make it happen. Maybe if you're a Thorns expert, you can leave a comment below sharing with me how you can build survivability and enough damage with Thorns to just one-shot everything around you in a Nightmare 100 without uber uniques, of course, because I haven't been lucky enough to get too many of the good ones, if they even synergize with this build. So as of right now, I'm going to put it in the B tier. Again, this is going to be A tier for overall builds in the game, but for Barbarians specifically, B tier. The next build we have is going to be Upheaval. Performance-wise, it's going to be an A tier. Based on people's how they feel about it, it kind of goes into the B tier. Why do I have it like this? So again, the results it shows is A tier for sure, but there's something with the Upheaval animation. It gives that like 0.1, 0.2 second delay on that large sweeping animation of Upheaval that just makes it feel not good. If they can smooth it out and make it feel better, so when you spam it, it's not like you're brushing on the concrete, they should make it like you're brushing water or something. So it feels really smooth and it's not clipping any animations when you try to do something after that. So again, I'm going to keep it on A tier right now, but as far as how it feels for most players, it's definitely in that B tier. Next we have Rend. Rend actually I haven't played this season, but the changes to damage over time didn't affect the base of the build, and of course I've leveled with Rend for 2 seasons, actually 3 seasons in a row now. Well, 2 seasons, preseason plus these 2 seasons, and I've played it pretty deep through the game in the past. This season I have not, because again, the changes that were speculated that were going to make bleeds good were not good. We figured that out a couple hours into playing when starting with Rend, and even though Rend is still overpowered for leveling, you didn't really get that massive boost that we thought we were going to get. So this is also going to be a B tier. I'm going to be visiting this a bit later once I have more gear, because I think this is a build that's going to scale with Rupture a bit later on into the season. Now, there's one thing that's not on this list. You might be thinking, Murder, how can you not have this on the list? It's because most builds use core skills. Not all builds, but most builds. There are builds you can do that I guess are considered like a brawling build that uses leap, charge, does not utilize a core skill, and uses a juiced up basic skill. These builds are fine. I would say based on this season and overpower and how they utilize overpower, they're hanging in between A and B tier. It's really hard to put them in either one, so I would kind of slap them in the middle of these two. And then the last skill that I know everyone's going to be like, how aren't you talking about this, is going to be Deathblow. The reason why I didn't put Deathblow on here is because Deathblow enables a lot of the builds currently on this list. Deathblow Thorns, Deathblow Whirlwind, Deathblow Double Swing, Deathblow Upheaval, Deathblow Hammer the Ancients. You don't really need it for Upheaval or Hammer the Ancients but all of the other builds really synergize well with Deathblow, as one's like a trash mob killer or elite killer, and then Deathblow is just the one-shot boss, because you only really need one aspect, which is going to be, I believe I took it off my current build. I have taken it off my current build. It's the one where if you spend 100 Fury, you gain a 200 multiplicative multiplier onto your next weapon mastery skill overpower, which is insane, by the way. Absolutely insane. So you want to use that. You can throw on that one aspect with Deathblow to any build that's struggling with single target, which is why Whirlwind is so good for the first time ever this season, and then you just win. So Deathblow isn't on here because I'm going to actually attempt to make a Deathblow only build. I don't think it's going to be good because Deathblow Nightmare Dungeons, it sounds very risky. If something goes wrong where you don't kill a target for some reason, unlucky crit, cooldowns don't alive, you drop berserking by mistake. If that happens, you're going to be running around for like 20 seconds, or let's just not speculate and go for the exact number here. So you're going to be running around for 10 seconds, let's say, after we take all of the points into Deathblow, assuming we have a cooldown. I have quite more cooldown than average because of the uniques I'm using, but let's just say 10 seconds for short. So if it doesn't kill something, to be dodging potentially lethal mechanics for 10 seconds, yes, you can just build it very tanky, but I don't know how I feel about that just yet. It seems like you're always going to need something to accompany Deathblow as far as a supporting damage dealing skill, but again, it's something I'm going to play with for sure because Deathblow can easily one-shot all content in this game. The only questionable part is going to be speed running something like a Nightmare 100 dungeon with a build like that. So that is going to be this tier list. Hopefully it will help you formulate what you want to play as the season progresses. And honestly, I would just play every build if you are going to play a Barbarian. If you're looking to meta chase, Hammer the Ancient is 100% going to be the current meta. That doesn't require a ton of gear, and it's very, very easy to get online. And you can literally play it from, I wouldn't say level 1, because Upheaval is kind of OP in the beginning levels, but level 30 to 100, you can play it all the way through. It doesn't really get boring in my opinion because of the I kind of think of like hungry hippos, right? That's kind of what it feels like when you're fighting. You're just deleting and like eating, kind of like a Pac-Man progression when you're going through these Nightmare 100 dungeons, just one-shotting everything. But yeah, so that's my take on this. Of course, again, it's my opinion. I have played all of the builds for a very long time. I've been making builds for Barbarians since Diablo 4 came out. So that's my opinion. Let me know what you guys are going to build next. I do look forward to getting out this Deathblow guide for sure here because I think it has a lot of potential, and I might try to do some, like I already kind of hinted on, to see how hard I can hit with Deathblow if I do as much cheese mechanics as possible. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to start getting some uber uniques to hit those really high numbers like a lot of other players are already doing, but I'm determined, despite 200 Duriel kills and 1 uber unique, which was the ring, which it's okay, but like not really for Barbarians. It's good for a lot of other classes, but it is what it is. So that's going to conclude this video. Thank you guys for watching. Give me your feedback. If you enjoyed this content, smash the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I will see you all in my next upload.